Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the ISO, I'd like to welcome you to today's FERC Order 881 Managing Transmission Line Ratings Phase 2 Methodologies call. My name is Christina Guimera, representing ISO Stakeholder Affairs, and I will be facilitating today's meeting. Today's slide deck presentation is available on the initiative webpage, and you can get to that page by going to kaiso.com, and then under the Stakeholder Center tab on the homepage, you'll see Policy and Initiatives. If you click that link, it'll take you to our main initiative landing page, where you can then search for FERC Order 881 Managing Transmission Line Ratings Phase 2 webpage. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and the video file will be posted on the initiative webpage for information and convenience purposes only. The recordings and any related transcriptions should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. If you need any technical assistance at any point during the meeting, please send a chat to the event producer. And to ask questions during the meeting, open the participant and chat panels on the bottom right. You can raise your hand by selecting the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen, or if you joined audio only, press *3 on your device. For everyone joining us today, please state your name and affiliation first before speaking, and you can also send comments and questions via chat to me or to all panelists. Today, Raja will be leading us in a discussion on OATI Webline R and remedial action schemes before I wrap things up with next steps and announcements. So next, I'll turn it over to Raja to discuss FERC 881 project timelines.
Thank you, Christina. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Raja Tapitogula. I'm the Director of Operation Engineering Services here at KAISO RC West. So this afternoon, we have good people, good team from KAISO that can help us with any questions. So it's not just me, it's 1 to many people. There's a lot of people that's helping us through this project. But ultimately, we wanted to give an update. It's been a couple of months where we want to give an update where we are with respect to. On top of that, we also wanted to have a discussion with the TOP team here that's joining. What are you guys, where are you folks with respect to your 881 implementation, in the sense, especially the rating methodology changes that needs to be implemented on your side, where you are, what are you considering from a remedial action schemes point of view, and what are you guys looking at exceptions? So I want to have more discussion with the TOPs once I'm done with the update where we are. So this slide, it's showing up, everybody knows at this point, right? We have 3 different tracks that we are tracking this overall project, overall ISO's RC West compliance to the FERC Order 881. The track 1, we had some delays because of the FAC 11 project, right? We merged the FAC 11 project into this 881. So some of the changes, especially the ratings, durations, whatnot. So all the changes have been implemented from FAC 11 point of view. So now we have onboarded on the track 1. Originally Q2, but we should be pretty close to be complete here. What does that mean, right? What does that mean to you guys? Is anybody that can send us ratings through ICCP, the current hour ratings. We can work with you folks. I know some of Sirajul from our team has been working with you folks to determine the mappings, whatnot. So once the project is ready, we can implement those mappings, and then at that point we should be able to receive those ratings, real-time ratings from the TOPs that are ready. Again, it is not critical that everybody needs to be ready because the project, again, FERC order is not compliance under July 2025. So this is more for the TOPs that are already have the ratings in the real-time process, in the real-time ICCP, and we want to use that in our EMS and EMNA applications, and then obviously HANA application as well. So as we go through it, we'll I know the TOPs that are already ready, so we'll work with them and then move forward. On the track 2, there's a lot of things that under the track 2 we are working, but ultimately the main component of track 2 is our ISOs and RC West, the look ahead application, where we're going to receive the look ahead ambient adjusted ratings, right? So as we have mentioned with in the prior calls, we are contract with OATI. We are using their OATI Webline R tool. Again, that tool right now, we are finishing up the functional specification. OATA has their own, we have our requirements done. We shared those requirements with OETA. OETA is developing their functional specification. They have developed the draft, and they shared the draft with us. We are finalizing the draft. At some point in the near future, I think in the next 1 or 2 months, I know Robert Indu can confirm, that will be shared with you folks, and that should detail everything with respect to what is the how this one will implemented, what are the APIs, what are the more granular details that you guys need to that needs that information for you folks to implement on your side. Robert, Indu, do you want to add anything else on that track too? The OETA webinar specification, at what point we're going to share?
As far as the supplemental specification, I just this meeting got the response back from OT for their comments back to us. So I'm about to send that out to the team for review. I know there are some additional open items that still were discussed internally and working out. But once we get this nailed down, which should be pretty shortly, actually, then we can start getting into some of the technical interface setups. Indu, I believe you were trying to say something?
Yes. So what it will translate externally for our external callers here is that we will be publishing a draft user guide for the UI functionalities, and also we will be publishing a draft API specification, which will be based upon REST and OpenAPI. We will be publishing a specification for that as well for API. So draft user guide and draft API specification is what will follow as a next milestone for our external publication.
Thank you, Indu, Robert. So maybe I'll take a minute here and see if there's any questions, because I know a lot of TOPs are waiting for that specification. So if they have any questions at the timeline, we can hear at this point.
There are currently no questions in the queue. Just a reminder to everyone, if you're not able to raise your hand, you can always send us a message in the chat and we can read your question.
I don't see.
Back to you, Raja.
I can move on to the track 3. So with that, the track 2, right? That the development has been will start once we agree with OETA. Once make sure we share the information with you folks on the API, on the information. The capability, it will be targeted to be ready by Q1 2025/Q2. And again, it all depends upon when we sign those final dots with the OETA. But so after that, the track 3, this is where the major component, right? Now that we can receive the ratings, we have established an interface with the TOPs. So how do we use those ratings in our downstream applications, right? So the both ISO and RC West has different set of applications that we need to be compliant to, right? Especially the ISO from a day-ahead market point of view, the real-time market point of view, and then from an RC West point of view, all the look-ahead reliability studies that we do, as well as the short range outage studies, outage coordination studies that we perform. So all those studies will need to start using this AARs. So right now, based upon some internal information, both vendor as well as our internal resources, there's going to be some potential. There's going to be some delays with respect to when we can fully finish up this overall compliance. So that's where we are right now. In the next 2 months, hopefully we will identify what tools we can finish it up by Q2 2025, and what tools we cannot finish up by Q2 2025. And at that point, we need to go to FERC and ask for an extension for those components that we are not able to finish it up. So our intention is not to delay things. We're gonna do due diligence to implement things that we can finish it up, and then once we know confidently that things that we cannot implement, we go to FERC and ask for an extension. So again, from what does that mean for TOP's compliance, right? This is going to be critical in the sense the track 2 item, which is the receiving the ARs. So that is going to be critical, right? That is still on track. So from your point of view, as long as you guys are ready, right, we should be able to receive it. Then at that point, it all depends upon ISO RC West, what we can use, what we cannot use, and we will try to go to FERC and ask for an extension for those applications. So the track 2 is still on track. No, there's no delays. We're doing due diligence to finish it up and be ready by July 2025. I'll take a moment and make sure that everybody is on the same page, because we're getting close to 1 year of the implementation, and I want to make sure that everybody understands where we are with respect to compliance, and then what does that mean for you folks.
It looks like we have a question in the chat from April Freeman from PG&E asking, when will the draft user guide and the API format be available?
Yep. Hey, Indu, Robert, do you want to take that question? Indu?
Yes, we don't have a firm date on that yet. As you know, you and Robert explained, we're still reviewing the design documents at this time. And so we will be publishing that user guide, a draft version of it definitely ahead of the training. And around the same time is when we'll be publishing the specs. So maybe we'll have a better idea of the timeline in a week or so. And so if you want to follow the release user group call, that's where maybe we can capture those milestones on when these documents are going to be published.
Good. Thank you, Indu. Hope that addresses your question, April. So we can move on to next slide, Christina. So in the next couple of slides, in general, we wanted to bring to your attention what the major components of WebLiner are. That at least from your information point of view, what it's going to be in there. I know we mentioned earlier APIs, obviously all those good things, user interfaces will all be there, but just wanted to document more things, what it is. I know there's different constructs, RC West, KISO PTOs. So just want to make sure that how each entity is going to interface with this, right? Again, as I mentioned, we are finalizing the functional specification. The main thing from the RC West TOP's point of view, right? The WebLiner tool will be the main ambient register rating as well as a seasonal rating management system. So you could interface with this, but send the seasonal ratings as well as the ambient register ratings, and any changes to the seasonal ratings can propagate into our downstream application. So ultimately, this is how we are seeing for all the RCVS TOPs. WebLiner will be the primary rating management system. So for KISO PTOs, right? KISO transmission owners, there's a small change for them in the sense we have a transmission registry tool that is the primary tool that is being used today to manage the seasonal ratings. So that will continue. But the WebLiner will be used for ambient register ratings. Again, from the TR, the seasonal ratings will go into the WebLiner, but the primary interface will be the TR. I know we have communicated with PTOs in different calls. I know some of you guys are on this call. Just want to make sure that it's not a change in process. It's just going with the existing mechanism. But at some point in the future, we want to move as a separate project, move those PTO seasonal rating management into WebLiner 2. But until that time frame, PTOs, KISO PTOs will be interfacing with two separate tools for seasonal through the TR, for the AR through WebLiner. I know there's a hand raised. Eddie, we can take a question right now. I'll stop a moment.
Yes, Eddie Dadashti, Powers Energy. Is generator interconnection process included in any of your tracks? And if it's not included, why is it so?
Sidi, I didn't. What do you mean by generation interconnection process?
Like when renewable resources get interconnected, they have these static ratings of transmission lines. Okay.
So,
and,
yeah.
Is that something that you guys plan to include in your undertaking? Just if it's not included, I think it's worth including it.
Yeah, I think I mean, again, Eddie, let me know if I'm wrong. I think this is more on the generation side right now, right? You only have seasonal ratings, but the question is, we're not expecting the generation owners going to calculate ARs on those equipment. We just want to collect the seasonal ratings. It's a one-time, right? So under the existing mechanisms to the model building process, we're going to collect those ratings and we're going to make that get that into the system. But we're not expecting for you guys for the generation owners to calculate any ARs. Let me know if I understand your question correctly, Eddie.
And yes, you do. I mean, let's assume they have a solar plant that wants to interconnect to the CalISO grid, and it only operates, during daytime. So, so real-time ratings would be a significant factor in curtailing the output of that plant or subjecting it to upgrade requirements and so on.
I think there's two parts, right? On the TO side, once the TO owns the equipment, depending upon the rating methodology, either they're going to calculate the AR. If they calculate AR for those equipment, we will use those and manage the system. I think the question is more on the equipment that the generation owns, right? On the piece that generation owns. Right now, that equipment, we are not expecting AR to be calculated. So, and what you are suggesting is we need to look into maybe a mechanism where we can receive those AR from the generation owners,
Yes.
right, on that piece of the equipment. Okay.
Yes.
Yep, maybe, yeah. I think we were not expecting it, but maybe we'll take an action item on our part, look into that question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Grady.
No further questions in the queue.
Roger, you're currently
Yeah,
muted.
Christina. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Can you go into the next slide, Christina? So again, I think there's another information, right? So this is going to be important for you folks. The webliner will construct the facility model, right? The AC line segments, right? The transformers, right? All that data that we need, the modeling data that we need to get the ratings. Webliner will extract from our full network model, and I can assume everybody is aware of that, right? So essentially, you should be already aware of, right, what those names are, what those equipments are. So once we have the information, you should not see any newer information. No new mappings need to develop because you already most of the TOs already interact with that network model and already know the equipment names, whatnot. So it should be seamless. Indu, do you want to add anything on top of that?
No, Raja, I think you covered it. Unless there are any questions we can address.
Good, thank you. Again, the main thing is, right, it will support seasonal ratings and dynamic ratings. It can interact, it get those and provide the right profiles, all that things that from a ratings point of view, webliner will be able to do. Next slide.
Raja, there's a question on chat.
Yep, I just see, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Christina. Go ahead, Reid. Yep.
From Yanzu asking, will transmission planning TPP study use seasonal ratings?
Yep, that is correct, Jan. They will be using the seasonal ratings, especially on the KAISO PTOs provide those seasonal ratings to us through the transmission registry. They will be using those. I know there's a new FERC is looking into the dynamic line ratings and then usage of those in planning. But until such time, there's no plan for planning you to use any of the ARs. They'll be only using the seasonal ratings. Hope that addresses your question, Anne. So on top of that, right, webliner, so now that the model component is done, webliner will be performing the seasonal rating validations, right? It's again, when I say seasonal rating validation, it's really a basic, right? Just making sure that we're getting the right data, we're not getting abnormal data. I want to make sure that everybody on the same page. We're not going to calculate this. We're just getting ratings from you. right? So we don't know what the rated temperature is, whether it's actually right or wrong, right? It's just more, does that make sense, right? There's no different things that we can build, the reasonability limits that we can do, right? Plus or minuses, we have talked about it, right? We can plus or minus 15 of percentage, we can do that. A rate of change of test, right? We can do a couple of things. Missing rating type, right? Obviously, if the data is missing, like, if emergency ratings are missing, if the TOP has one normal and two emergency, and they're only sending one normal, one emergency, then it's going to have a problem, right? So those are things. And obviously, ascending rating type, right? What does that mean, right? It's making sure that your normal rating is less than your emergency rating 1, that is less than your emergency rating 2, right? You're going in a sequential order, right? If an order is missing, it can reject the data, whatnot. So again, these are really basic seasonal validations. As once we get more into this tool, we'll definitely work with you folks, test that information what we have, and make sure that we are not doing any abnormal testing that you're not expecting us to do. We're only doing things that the things that make sense, right? We're not rejecting unnecessarily. We'll work with the TOPs when we get to the testing phase. They will be, again, the webinar will have different things, right? As I mentioned, user interface, you can upload through different ways of uploading our API import, right? So again, this is seasonal ratings, right? Because it's a more static nature. You have this manual upload, the CSV upload, or right, our user interface to change. But there's not going to be anything for ARs, right? ARs you expect every hour, so it's mostly through API automated process, because you cannot do that. There's no way you can do that manually for the ARs. But seasonal rating, you can manage from different. So again, once the changes are done, ultimately the primary goal of this overall effort is for us, the seasonal ratings, historically for us, the seasonal ratings, it's only done through the model building process, FM cycle, right? And out of that, it's a rating, emergency rating change through the OMS, our engineers entering, or operators entering in real time. So we're trying to get to more automated fashion, where things are done through the tool. So anytime there's a change to some rating, and even if it's seasonal rating, an updated rating, it can be done through this webinar, and that gets propagated into all our system immediately. Automatically, so that there's no major manual intervention on our engineer part. So that's a change how we are approaching this 881. Next slide, please. So same thing, AR validation will have more checks, right? There's along with the reasonability test, rate of change, missing, ascending, there's going to be start time, in the past, too far in the future, like just making sure that you are sending every hour, they're starting next hour, right? So that is, some of those checks are just built to make sure that you're not sending old data, or programmatically there's some error in the tools or whatever it is. So and then AR duration test, it's making sure that you have all the 240 hours of data, right? So it's just it's making sure that all that components are there. So so that, again, there's no manual changes. Again, there's a CSV upload, but I don't think anybody's going to use the CSV upload at this point. At least mostly we expect everybody to automated API import, at least for the dynamic ratings. Next slide, Christina. So this is going to be critical, right? As I mentioned, webinar, once the APIs, you're able to, the tool is ready, you can use the API to comply your FERC orders, right? So ultimately that will complete once you guys are ready on your side. Once our tools are ready, you can start sending, and that should comply with complete your FERC 881 compliance. Yep. Yes, just see a question from Bill. Yep, Bill, we're going to talk in the next couple of slides about that. Yeah, thank you, Indo. So there's one more thing that I know some of the TOs in the earlier meetings, there was a question, especially the real-time ratings. Do we expect all those come through ICCP, or is there any other avenue that RC West can build that. So based upon the discussions from and feedback from the TOPs, what we are implementing in the WebLine R is there's an avenue where if the TOP sends those current hour ratings through WebLine R, and that gets propagated into our reliability applications, right? So again, just like ICCP, you can, rather than ICCP, you can use WebLine R to, once the WebLiner is ready, to send the current hour ratings, right? Not just forecasted ratings from next hour to 240 hours, but the current hour, the instantaneous ratings that you are calculating and using in your systems, you can choose to use WebLiner for that. So we'll provide all that information, how it can be done, but we're going to build that, we're specifying that component. So again, this is more, it's not a requirement that you use WebLiner or you want to use ICCP for the real time, but two different avenues for TOPs to choose from. Again, this is a request that came from the TOPs. So I want to take a minute and see if there's any questions on this particular item. Make sure that everybody understand what does that mean, right? It means that WebLiner can be used to send the current hour ratings, and that will go through our RTCA, EMS, and HANA process immediately when that data comes in.
There are currently no questions in the queue.
Thank you, Christina. So again, as I mentioned, WebLiner earlier, it will support one normal rating and up to 4 emergency ratings. Again, it is depend upon the TOP. It's not a requirement that everybody needs to do one normal one. I mean, for emergency, if the TOP has only 2 emergency, they can choose that, and then and obviously that the FMM model process, we have that documented, and WebLiner will support that. If somebody has 3, WebLiner will support 3. If somebody has 4, WebLiner will support 4. But if somebody has 5, our limitation is only 4 emergency ratings. So we have to determine that what you are providing, how you're managing, because all these ratings going into into all our reliability applications. So it's critical that we make sure that what you have we're supporting from a WebLiner point of view. Christina, next slide, please. So the another major component, right? I think this is where I want to see if there's any questions or concerns from the TOPs or PTOs that are on the call. So from an AR compliance point of view, from a data retention point of view, we are planning to have retention, 5-year retention, which is the 881 requirement. So this will be available through user interface and can be obviously through API download. But again, it's only 5 years. That is the 881 requirement. Is there any concern with respect to this from anybody on the call that we need to look into? Just want to make sure that we hear those concerns and we look into, but we plan to do this 5 years based upon the 881 requirement. I'll take a moment.
There is currently a question in the chat from Jack Nyland asking if ICCP link is down, how does PTO or TOP transmit the AARs?
So really good question, right? Again, I think, so there's two things, right? If ICCP link is down, we plan to, right? For example, the current hour link is down, right? We have a duration associated with each TOP in our EMS where we can say up to 60 minutes we can use that rating, right? There's a duration. And after that, it's called fallback ratings, right? We can fall back to seasonal ratings or we can fall back to the ARs that are coming in. So what we chose is, since entities are sending the next hour, starting next hour ratings as well. So our intention is to use the next hour rating for the duration and then fall back to seasonal ratings. So I know in one of the prior calls we documented that So as part of the process, we definitely, it will be part of our BPMs. We can make sure that everybody on the same page. What's our fallback ratings? But our intention is to use ICCP. If ICCP is down, we can use the next hour rating that is coming in from AAR WebLiner tool. And if those AR if go bad after 1 year, we can fall back to the seasonal ratings. Hope that address your question. Indu, do you want to add, or Robert, do you want to add anything else on the fallback?
No, you're correct, Raja. That's the plan. I just wanted to add a note that we will be having that detail in the external business requirement specification document.
Okay, Indu.
On this fallback method, yes.
Good. Thank you. I know there's one more question from, yeah, go ahead, Robert. Go ahead, Robert, sorry.
No, I was going to add, I think you covered it, and I don't have anything else to add. Thank you.
Next question from Yanzu asking, do you have requirements for the methodology of seasonal rating calculation?
So, and I think we are not specifying what those requirements are, right? What we, the TOP is, again, I think that's not a requirement for us to specify what each TO does. And that's not our responsibility to determine what TO does from a rating methodology point of view. But at least we are, once the TO is ready, we'll make sure that rating methodology, once we get the rating methodology, we will make sure we'll give our opinion if there's any, if it complies with 881. But we are not requiring that the TO does what we want to do. We want to be cognizant of what the TO's rating methodology is, and we will work around that, make sure that our tools can handle those ratings. Hope that addressed your question.
There are no further questions in the queue.
Good. Thank you. So that again, I know it comes back to the Bill's question, what we want to do. WebLiner from a rating coordination point of view, it is going to have the functionality to be a clearinghouse on the tie lines, where the TO participants each can submit those ratings, right? And then WebLiner will select the most restrictive, smallest rating, and that will be transmitted. And Indu can correct me, that will be available for the TOs to download as well once that cleared rating.
Yeah, that's correct. The cleared rating will be available on WebLiner.
Thank you, Indu. So Bill, hope that addressed your question. So yep, it is going to be a clear, it will be part of clearinghouse for the tie lines and even the joint owned units, right? Sorry, joint ownership equipment as well. It can do that function. If there's no further questions, we can move on to the next slide, Christina. So again, these next slides, it's more what we plan to do, right? There's a different periodic data that transmittal between WebLiner into our downstream, right? So just, I know we have a lot of different applications. There's a different timelines associated with that, right? So we plan to, like in every hour, top of the hour, what are the ratings that we have in the system that will be sent the current and the next hour. This is, again, as I mentioned earlier, this is the current and next hour data that will be used for any of the fallback process, right? On top of ICCP. If ICCP fails, it can fall back to this current and next hour data that's being propagated from WebLiner into our EMNA systems. On top of that, right, anytime there's a data coming in, right, WebLiner will push those data, event-based data. Indu can elaborate if there's any further questions to anybody, but it's generally, as the data comes in, we want to use those updated ratings. I know there's a question, looks like I can take a moment.
We have a question from Dinesh.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation. This is Dinesh Salem Natarajan with EAS Energy. I'm sorry if you already answered this, but my question is, will these dynamic ratings be, there's the way for them to be accounted into the day-ahead market, or is it purely just for real time?
No, it will be, right? It will be, right? That's the part of that. So as there's a 240 hours of data coming in, right? There's 240 hours of data. So there's both the real-time market as well as the day-ahead market. On top of that, we have RC has a and ISO as well, right? The D+2 two-day ahead reliability studies that has performed, and then also 7-day outage coordination studies that we perform. So we plan to use these ARs in all those applications.
And sequentially, if should there be any changes, maybe in the HASP or the SCED runs, you would again use you will factor in these limits into all intervals in those studies, right?
So there's, again, I think Indu can help me with that too, right? So what we're trying to do so at least from a HASP point of view, all the market run that is happening, right? The HASP, stuck, real-time RTD-PD and RTD. So all that market will use the same AR component that's going in. So we want to have a consistency there. So for example, right now we are sending every hour, the TOPs will be sending every hour the next 240 hours of data, right? So that based upon the 75 minutes before the hour, any rating that is being the truth. So that data, same rating will be used in all that market for that hour.
Oh,
right?
In the multiple intervals that you're even for the advisory intervals in the hour, right?
Yeah. So yep, exactly. In the same advisory hours, we'll be using the same rating. But again, there's for the unit commitment, the short-term unit commitment, we have the 5 hours, right? So it will be based upon which hour that it is running, the rating will be used. But the RTPD, the same 15-minute RTPD, and then RTD, it will be using the same rating for that hour.
Okay.
Forecasted rating.
Got it.
Hope that helps. Yep. Indu, do you want to add anything else on top of that? But yeah.
No, I think you covered it. And like you said, for the day-ahead market, we will be using the rolling set for day-ahead +1 and day-ahead +2.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Dinesh, I think, Brian, you're next. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question was just for like market purposes, is there a way to segregate what ratings are used? So for instance, in the day ahead, if I wanted to be more conservative, would there be a way to prevent the tool from using the specific day ahead limits, or selecting a more conservative day ahead limit?
So, I mean, Brian, I think I want to understand your question, right? If there's no ARs, it will default back to the seasonal rating that is available. Again, there's an outage related rating, right? There's OMS, outage management system rating that is available. I know there's different priorities, but in a simple way, if you only have ARs and the seasonal ratings, if AR not available, it will fall back to seasonal ratings. Are you referring to that component, or you're trying to find a way that, hey, the rating is not the AR rating is higher than seasonal rating, and you're asking us, can we always use a seasonal rating if the AR is higher? Is that what you mean by Brian? I just want to understand your question more.
Yeah, I'll try to explain it a different way. So say that we are submitting the rolling seasonal ratings. I think where my concern would be is that we are being less conservative in like the day ahead market. And I guess it doesn't shake out that way in real time. So there is a chance that potentially you could have like some type of reliability concern based upon day ahead commitment. I don't know the phraseology that we're using for the tool, but basically it would be like, I want to segregate. I can always use a less conservative rating in real time because that is most likely where I'm going to be versus the day ahead. Like I don't want to use that rolling hourly 24-hour ahead rating for market purposes when maybe the temperatures are different.
Yeah, I think, Brian, it's a fair question, but I think ultimately the 881 is the primary driver of 881 is ISOs and RTOs use this day ahead ratings in the market, right? The look ahead ratings based upon the temperature. But the same token, to address your question, to concern, I think FERC definitely put some caveats in the sense, right? You can, as part of your rating methodology calculation process, you can put some confidence bands on, like, what is your confidence on the temperature for the day, and then you can put some margins, like what rating you want to post for that particular hour, based upon how much confidence you have on the temperature. So if you feel like, as part of your rating methodology, as part of your implementation, if you feel you don't have confidence for that hours on the temperature, you can send those seasonal rating into for that hour, right? Based upon what are the conservative rating profile that you want to send in, the market will use. So, but the market will not make a determination because it doesn't have that, right? We don't have the temperature information. We don't have, and we cannot pick and choose on every equipment what we want to use. We want to use AAR. We want to use the seasonal rating, right? So currently the only thing that we have is, if AARs does not come in, we'll use seasonal ratings, but it's not checking what is in the seasonal AARs, right? So as part of your process, you could build up something where what you want to send it to the ISO systems, then that can determine what ratings go into the day-ahead market. Hope that helps your question, Brian. But it's definitely a question that needs to be looked in. It's more of an implementation one, right? How much confidence you have in the temperature.
Understood. Thank you.
Next in the queue, we have a question in the chat from Aftab Alam at SB Energy, asking, will CAISO publish a list of lines where dynamic ratings will be utilized?
So again, I think, Aftab, I will answer your question in a different way. At least currently, what we are planning to do is the equipment that is an exception. A TO determines. I'm not going to calculate an exception. We plan to have that information that will be available not publicly as part of this webinar. TOPs that have access to the webinar tool can look into that. So more of an exception list. So once you have an exception list, all the equipment should have a dynamic rating. Hope that address your question, Aftab.
There are no further questions in the queue.
Good. Yep, we can move on to the next slide. Yep, so this one, I think it covers the day ahead time frame, right? So every hour, the next 10 days ratings will be sent to our downstream systems, and the day ahead can use what time frame it want to use, and then our look ahead reliability applications can use what time frame they plan to run, right? So again, it's more of an implementation, but as part of that, right, we'll definitely test with the right people when we get there. Can we move on to the next slide, Christina? So I think that covers overall. I know there's exceptions we mentioned. As Indu mentioned, once that user guide is shared, it will have more information. Obviously, she'll be able to help as part. Once you have more questions, we can address as part of this working group structure, or maybe different ways we can work with you guys and address your questions. But I want to move on to more of implementation, what the TOs are doing, right? Especially because this is really critical for us to know how you guys are implementing this, because it has a implementation impacts to everything, especially the remedial action schemes. It's really big, complicated animal itself to deal with it. 881 did not give, as you guys are aware, I think we have discussed earlier, 881 did not give any exceptions to that. Now the question is, it doesn't mean that TOs have to implement AR in every RAS action. Because right, potentially there might be protection schemes that will determine the what rating needs to be used. But eventually, what are you guys looking into? Have you guys discussed at any of your shops, like, how you're gonna implement this RAS schemes with the ARs, right? What are you planning to do? And if you are implementing those in the field, then obviously what RC has an impact too, right? Because now RC, we have to make sure that RAS modeling that we have in our RTCA, it's based upon not a static rating. is based upon the AR that is coming in, that is as well as our HANA application, our EMS systems, right? So we need to make sure that RAS is modeling, and that has big impact. I mean, even for you folks, right? On your side, you need to make changes too. So your vendors need to work with you guys and do that. On top of that, the look-ahead reliability applications, I'm not even talking about the day-ahead. I mean, the day-ahead markets, RAS modeling needs to be changed. But what about the look-ahead reliability applications, like, you know, the D+2 studies or short-range outage studies, right? So those things needs to be changed as well. And in itself, it's a big impact, right? So I wanted to see what you guys are thinking, like on your side. Is there any discussions, or is everybody going to put this RAS into an exception, right? Yeah, then that will simplify everybody. Then we don't need to implement anything. But yeah, I just want to get your opinion, right? If you can speak up, right, maybe today, or if not, we can. I know Christina will have a slide to talk about other ways we can receive your feedback, right? We would like to hear from you folks what you're planning to do on your rating methodologies and how you're going to handle this. Maybe I'll stop and see if there's any questions, hands raised, because I'm really interested in from this implementation point of view.
There are currently no hands raised and no questions in the chat.
Good. I'm hoping we get some feedback, maybe through email when Christina shares. I really appreciate, right? Or maybe one-on-one calls with me, like, you know, just from curious what you guys are thinking. Each TO is strategizing from an implementation point of view. Thank you, Christina. Next slide, please. Yeah, same thing, right? From your rating methodology, where you guys are, we'd like to have a conversation from maybe in person, maybe one-on-one calls. Just want to hear from you folks what you guys are thinking. If somebody wants to talk today, I will be really happy. Welcome that. But I want to hear from you folks. On top of that, exceptions, right? You know, especially when I say exception, you know, what are you planning to do from a? Are you planning to calculate on every line? What about transformers? Are you planning to? I know there's most of the entities are planning to. At least some of the entities are planning to not calculate ARs and transformers. And obviously they'll be documenting that part of the exception. What are you guys thinking, right? In general exceptions, I want to hear from you folks if you guys already thought about that on your side.
Currently no questions in the queue.
Thank you. I think that ends my slides, but I'm really curious to hear feedback from the TOs on this item. Maybe we can send an email offline. I'd really appreciate. Thank you, Christina. It's all yours.
Thank you, Raja. Just a reminder to everyone to please submit comments on today's discussion through the initiative webpage by August 10th, rather than email us directly. Of course, if you ever run into any issues, you can feel free to email us at isostakeholderaffairs@kaiso.com. Now for some announcements. For insights into the ISO grid and market operations, be on the lookout for our Energy Matters blog, or you can resubscribe. Here you can see the latest posts regarding the Western Energy Imbalance Market governing body adopting a new name, and another regarding the July 2024 heat wave. Next, we'd like to announce the new policy initiatives timeline. The ISO has launched this timeline to give stakeholders an overview of ongoing policy initiatives. It really offers details such as the initiative status, timeline, and the current phase of the stakeholder engagement process. And updates will be made weekly and can be found on the policy initiatives landing page. And for more info, please always feel free to email us at isostakeholderaffairs@kaiso.com. Lastly, we'd like to remind you that registration is open for the 2024 Stakeholder Symposium. You can visit the event website for additional information. And with that, we'd like to thank you so much for joining today's discussion. As a reminder, this meeting was recorded for information and convenience purposes only. The video file will be posted on the initiative webpage. Thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.